Hi, guys. I wanted to really show you what a wonderful opportunity it is to visit your local Asian grocery stores in order to find planting material. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I've showed you in some of my other videos how I plant um, the food materials that you can get in the produce sections. So if you just go to Google and you type in Vietnamese grocery stores wherever you live, and then when you zoom in, you'll be able to see some of them. Okay. It might look kind of sparse when you kind of zoom out. It kind of goes towards like the most um, probably popular areas first. But when you zoom in, you'll start to see that they're pretty much all over. And just give it a second to load. So you can find all kinds of fun places to check out. And all of these stores have different materials. If I go to 10 different Asian markets, I will find all different kinds of things at all of those stores. Even if they're all Vietnamese stores, I will find something different at all of them. Usually independently owned, and so they have all different kinds of things that are totally different from one place to another, which is really exciting and interesting. So I'm going to show you guys a few things I saw at one of the Vietnamese stores near me in just a moment, but I wanted to show you how easy it is to find them. They're often tucked away um, behind other little stores. They're usually very small, but they have so much in there. And you can save so much money by buying produce and then planting it.
You want him? I want him. Sweet too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found the ones that they have like pink in the inside?
I do. I see it.
You saw those
But
ones?
it's expensive.
I know. But vegetables have logos. They're like the same, but they're like
Yeah, they're sweet, but it's
green.
expensive.
Green, they're good.
The green one.
Did you body break the other one?
Yeah, the lemongrass.
Yeah, the little bit one.
Yeah.
Over here.
Big one only.
Oh.
You want to do the big one only. I saved one. I saved one here. One. Yeah, don't put it out.
You know that one that's the Ooh, it's very spicy.
Yeah, extra spicy.
Some of these green. We'll grab it really quick.
I don't know what these are. No. We were friends. It looks like a bunny rabbit. Happy Easter. I think this is daikon radish, but I'm not sure, and I can't find the label for it. I'm sure it's some kind of radish. There's turmeric. Last time I got them, they must have been frozen because they do not grow.
They're chipped.
Oh, it is daikon. I was right. Don't you just love being right? Daikon.
That's not daikon, that's tomato.
No, but that's where the sign is. It says daikon here, but that's for this. And there's the lemongrass. I don't know what this is. This is bitter melon. It's on the Blue Zone diet. It's supposed to extend your life. People who eat this a lot have longer lives. Oh, I'm not going to buy it because I know it smells bad. But I've never seen it. I've never seen it here before.
They have it all the time.
Really? I never looked in this area. I wasn't expecting it with this.
What's the place?
They must be keeping it frozen so that it doesn't smell bad. I just love going to different Asian grocery stores with the idea of going in and trying new things and also trying to see if there's any kind of produce that I can try to regrow. I love growing vegetable scraps. I love to get cuttings and, save seeds from the produce that I actually use. And I really highly recommend trying it out, especially when you know something is if it's non-GMO especially. So, I just wanted to point out too that it's important to try things that are maybe a little bit less familiar to you. And for many, many years, my I was so picky and I'd always have the same foods and I'd always have the same kinds of things I'd grow. And now I'm really, really branching out. So, and I have nothing to regret, just lots of positive experiences. There's so many, and if you can see the banana flowers that they have there at the stores, it looks so neat and interesting. Um, some of the things that when you research, you'll see things that um, are not necessarily from Vietnam or any of the Asian countries necessarily, but maybe they're popular in the cuisine. Some of the vegetables are from there, and some of them are actually just popular in those areas. Chayote is very popular. My husband is from Mexico originally, and that's a very popular um, cuisine in his culture. And there's just so many beautiful things too. I often see these pickled in jars. I just think they look so interesting. The lotus root, so cool looking. Now I've never found any that I could plant from the stores, but they are still interesting to take a look around and see what other people are enjoying and how their things are used differently in other places in the world. I always find it interesting when you find out how things might be used differently in other countries. For example, in the United States, we love to eat sweet potatoes, but in other countries, a lot of people eat the greens. So, unlike potatoes, where the greens are toxic because they're nightshades, sweet potatoes are a different species. And the greens for sweet potatoes are actually edible. And a lot of cultures, they're grown for the leaves, which I think are also very ornamental. So, if you live in Washington State or the Pacific Northwest or other areas of the country or the world where your growing season isn't long enough to get your root crop out of there, you can plant the sweet potatoes that you get from your Asian marketplaces and you can use the leaves. Just make sure that what you're growing is actually sweet potato. Okay, a lot of things are called sweet potato, but you want to make sure that you actually have the sweet potato species. But they are used in soups, it says here, in pho, which is very popular in Washington State. A lot of people really enjoy the pho soups. And I used to always say pho. I was saying it wrong for so many years, but it's called pho. And you can use the sweet potato leaves. So I think that's really cool because I've tried to grow sweet potatoes so many times, and I'll get these spindly little roots that look like, could be anything. It doesn't even look like a sweet potato because they're so tiny, but the leaves look really good. So now I feel like it's worthwhile to grow sweet potatoes here. Even if I don't get the root crop, at least we get the leaves. Okay, so that's interesting. And I do love to grow Malabar spinach, and you can get seeds for Malabar spinach from Baker Creek. I'm sure you can get it from multiple places, but do a little bit of research. Um, I'm not sure how to say this, but I was growing, I think it's Katuk. or I might be saying it wrong. I was growing some for a while, but my plant died. Very sad. Um, Water mimosa, isn't that pretty? It looks like something from um, maybe Dr. Seuss or something like that. So make sure you know what you're doing. Bitter gourd is a great thing for you to pick up. Now, I don't think that you can like I tried before I really knew how gourd grew and all that. I didn't realize that you're eating it. If you're eating it like this as a vegetable, you're eating it immature. So those seeds are not going to be viable. It's like if you were to eat a cucumber, and the seeds in there are not viable. You basically have to let it go past its prime so that it's really mature, and then you can plant those seeds. But I do have lots of different varieties of bitter gourd that I got from Baker Creek. They have just so many choices. Check them out. I'll show you guys in a moment some options that you have. So, there are a lot of things that they're showing here. Some of them do not originate in Vietnam or other Asian countries, but they're popular there. Now, taro is very popular, and I've been growing taro root for many years now as an ornamental house plant. I highly recommend it because the leaves look like elephant ear, and elephant ear is a cousin of taro, but it's like the inedible type. And then taro is the type that you would use for things like I think it's poi. I used to live in Hawaii, and there was a side dish that kind of reminds me of refried beans, and it's made from taro root. And so that's something that's could be kind of a gray man's crop if you were thinking about it that way, because the plants look like an ornamental and no one would think that you had something edible in a houseplant pot. So that's kind of interesting to think about that way. But I do love to grow taro. It's a very pretty plant. I've never grown it to eat the tubers just because, or the rhizome, because I just really like how pretty it is. And it really is a hack to actually grow it as a house plant. Okay. Hibiscus leaves here. Interesting. Hibiscus flowers. That's very popular in many cultures. My husband's culture likes to have hibiscus, I think it's called the calyx or calyx. It's a little um bottom part of the flower that's on the outside, and they make it into a tea called Jamaica, and that's really delicious. I've tried to grow the roselle plant. We don't have quite a long enough season here, but I might try again. So this is a good resource. You can see the web link at the top, but I wanted to pop over to Baker Creek and show you how much variety they have here. Now some of the things in here might not be originating from them either, because there's common names, and then you have to figure out kind of what the origins and everything like that. But um, the galangal, I'm not sure how to say that. Um, I tried to use some root I got from a store, but I think the store might have frozen it, maybe in transit on accident, because the root shriveled up really fast. And some of the turmeric I bought too at one of the shops, it also did the same thing. It looked really, really good. Um, for food quality, it was great, but I think the turmeric and the galangal that I had gotten at one of the stores, I think it was accidentally frozen. So those shriveled up and died. But I have grown turmeric many times from store bought rhizomes. I've also planted ginger many, many times. And when ginger grows up, it just looks so tropical if you have it in a pot. It looks like a very beautiful tropical plant. It takes a long time for it to get going. Um, but it's definitely a conversation starter, I'll tell you what. And when you dig it up, then you could break off a piece, use it, and plant the other piece. So it's kind of like this, just it perpetuates itself. So you could, just take a piece and then keep a chunk and have a plant and have a crop. So that's kind of neat. So there's so many choices in here. Um, the Japanese wasabi radish. Now that's not the true wasabi, but the flavor is similar. Lots of cool things in here. I'll tell you about the Chinese white celery. I tried growing celery so many times, and finally, when I got the Chinese white celery from Baker Creek, I was finally able to grow it. And now I have Chinese white celery growing as weeds in like the cracks of my walkways. I love that. I don't mind volunteers at all. I think it's absolutely fabulous, and sometimes I'll transplant them, things that I find in weird places in my yard, to where I want them, but I can't tell you, I had, like, I think 4 main plants that I had. They were huge, it was amazing. Now, they weren't, like, the really thick stem type that you get at the grocery store, the types that are really, really watery, um, but these would be really great for making soups and stews and things like that. And it's just phenomenal to be able to go from like not growing very well to having an abundance. Like the plants were massive. I was just so impressed. So lots of cool choices here. And no, I can't verify that every single one of these is originating um, in Vietnam or China or Japan, but these are popular varieties apparently. And I think it's just always interesting as you get more research on a specific type of plant to learn the history of them. I think is really cool. And this one here is ginger root, 2 plants for 18.50. It's like for me personally, I love Baker Creek, but I'm not going to pay 18.50 for 2 ginger roots when I can go to the grocery store and get them for like a couple dollars. So sorry, Baker Creek. I love it. I'm sure that they'll sell out. They always do. Um, if you're independently wealthy, go for it, you know. But I love this. Their seeds here are they're just so reasonable. And then I wanted to pop over and show you one last thing, which is Strictly Medicinal has really cool seed varieties. And since I'm kind of going with like the Asian store theme, I wanted to show off some of the things that they have. Of course, lemongrass. Now, the last couple times I've gotten lemongrass, they haven't rooted very well for me. I don't know if they've gotten too dry or maybe how they're transporting them. Maybe they got too cold because a lot of these varieties are somewhat cold sensitive. However, a lot of the Asian plants, if they grow in China, especially, I found um, that a lot of the Chinese crops are very cold tolerant. I've had some things growing in the garden like well into December before they're finally killed off, and I was just like really like impressed. And thinking about it, it's like, wow, there's certain areas of China. China's a huge, massive country that it's a continent, really. And so certain areas, the climate in some places is very cold. Just like how the United States has so many different zones, China does too. So there are some plants there that can really stand up. Now, lemongrass is not cold hardy. I tried overwintering it in a double greenhouse and that didn't work. This time around, if I'm planting them from seeds, I think I will definitely keep them in a pot that I can bring inside before it gets cold because, man, I'll tell you, lemongrass is absolutely delicious. So, if you don't grow lemongrass, you need to, and also you need to grow lemon verbena, but that's another story. So definitely grow some lemongrass, and you can grow them from cuttings from the markets, but if they have gotten too dried out or if they oh my battery's running low, guys, sorry, I'm talking too much. If they get a little too dry or if they get a little too cold, then you can just use it for tea or something instead. It's worth giving it a try. So here are so many options for you guys. I really hope that you'll check out your local Vietnamese and other Asian stores because um we are so like cookie cutter boxed in with our experiences. And I feel like if you try out some of these little shops, I'm going to do some other videos on some of the Mexican stores because you can grow so it's crazy. You guys can grow so much with just the produce that you find at these different cultural groceries and also kind of branch out and you'll find sometimes you might be embarrassed. Some of the things that you're weeding out of your garden, other cultures actually are eating, like purslane. Um, in my husband's culture, they call it vertilaga, and it's often mixed in with egg dishes and it's delicious. Basically, some of the things we're taking out of our gardens in other cultures, it's a main dish. So I really hope that you guys will try out some of these ideas and um, give some business. These small business owners, they really appreciate, and it's always funny because whenever I go into the stores, I get kind of a look like, "Why are you buying this?" And I'm like, "I'm going to grow it," and everyone laughs. We'll always have like little conversations. Everyone's always curious why I'm buying certain things. Um, like, what's the intent? What dish am I gonna make? I'm like, "I'm not gonna make a dish with this right now. I'm gonna go home and put it in my garden." And, of course, everyone smiles and starts giggling. I know. Sometimes I'm probably being laughed at, but most of the time, it's really just a really positive interaction, um, and so it's just a really great thing to do. Get to know your neighbors. These stores are usually family-owned and local. So it's a great way to reach out and get to know the different cultures that live near you and try out some, and it's very frugal. You can plant things from your produce that you're gonna just save so much money. It's crazy. So everyone, God bless. I'll see you on the next video. And let me know if you go to one of your local markets, what did you pick up? What are you trying to grow? And what other cultures should we check out? I'm always interested because there's a lot of little shops that I've never gone into. So I love it. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.